What are the risks investing in real estate? Listen, if you're considering jumping into the world of real estate, there's nothing more rewarding financially out there. It is a top tier out there, and we'll talk about that later. But there are always risks. Heck, there's risk in walking across the street. One of the things that makes me crazy is when people say, oh, you can make a lot of money with real estate, but forget to tell you all the things you need to be aware of. You can also lose everything with real estate if you're not careful. In this video, I'm going to outline exactly what you need to look at and how to approach this intelligently to provide you and your family with financial independence. We're going to talk about market volatility, and not just as a subsurface of, oh, you got to be careful. Literally, you have to look at indicators because the market will tell you what's going on. And I'm not talking about watching the news. By the time you see it there, it's too late. Okay, you've got to keep your ear to the ground, and we're going to show you all of those in this video. Understanding the economics, I should say the microeconomics of a particular area is paramount. And we're going to cover all the things you need to look at to make sure you're not just buying real estate, you're buying real estate in the right location. While the allure of investing in real estate is attractive to everybody, you got to be careful. In the shadows, there can be some adversity out there that can just crash everything you've done instantaneously if you're trying to build a house of cards. There's a real easy way to ensure your financial success in real estate. You just have to follow the steps. We're going to cover all of those in this video. Now, before I go any further, I really want to thank everybody for tuning in. We've got over 10,000 subscribers, which I totally appreciate. I want you to understand how I look at it. These videos are for you. I already know this stuff. And somebody asked me a while ago is, why do you keep sharing these videos? Because I would be remiss if I didn't. I know more about what I'm doing in this particular area than I ever have before. And why would I not share that with everybody out there that's trying to learn, not going through the hard knocks? I've been doing this 30 years, and there's some things that I've seen over the years that if you get those, it could set your whole family back. So I appreciate the thumbs up, the subscription, the bell notifications. When I see all that happening, it makes me feel like, okay, somebody out there is listening, and that's what I want. It's just one deal. What I always say to people, one deal can change you and your family's financial future. Put some comments in there. Let me help you out through your financial journey to financial freedom. Now, let's just talk about investing in real estate. A lot of sex appeal there. Okay, here is the beautiful thing about real estate. You got to go back in the history. The United States has a very unique real estate system. There's a couple of factors, and again, it's all foundational. I do believe it was Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, and Benjamin Franklin that said, if we could make home ownership a paramount fixture in this country, we would become one of the wealthiest nations in the world. And it's not just home ownership as I own my house, is who owns the real estate. You got to understand, and let's go way back into history. Let's just take the term landlord. Landlord comes from the lord of the property rented it out to the subservience of that particular area. Therefore, he was the landlord of the property. So we took a lot of these rules over from England, but they didn't work really well for a new nation blooming. They wanted, what they meant by home ownership, who owns the real estate? Title and who owns the real estate in this country is literally like no other place out there. So, for those of you that have only done real estate here in the United States, you might not understand that. Look, I've owned real estate in 4 different continents. I understand real estate outside the United States is a gamble, okay? In the United States, title, who actually owns the property is what they were speaking of. There is very little ambiguity. Yes, you can find some rules out there where there was somebody taken for this or that. But literally everything about real estate in the United States is geared around proof of ownership. This is my land. I'm not going to do anything with it because I want to make it happen. There's that cartoon out there that was called Up with the old man with the balloons and everything with the scout. That was a perfect example. He didn't want to sell, and they were encroaching on the area, and he was going up, or the buildings were going up, and he didn't want to sell. That's literally, I sometimes get on planes, and as we're leaving, I'll look and I'll see this little farm surrounded by subdivision. I'm thinking, that guy's holding out. Property ownership is paramount, and that's what makes the foundational piece of owning real estate so strong. You have to know who it is. In the United States, it doesn't get any more clear than that. Market volatility. Now, some things have changed in that. Typically, when the real estate market went down, it kind of went down nationwide. The latest example of that would be in 08 and 09, when the financial markets collapsed, when they were basically, you fogged up a mirror, you were approved for a loan. People were buying more house than they could afford. Everything as a whole went down. What we're seeing right now is some markets going up and micro markets going down. So an example would be early 2023, Dallas, first time in my 29 years, I'd seen it actually gone down over 22% in the first quarter of the year in 2023, whereas Fort Worth was going up. So you're seeing micro economies, or economies that are actually building up the real estate. Make sure you know the demographics of where you're investing in. This is very crucial. What company, what business, what industry is driving that particular area? Now, the one thing about real estate is it's not as liquid as some of the other assets like stocks, bonds, gold, what have you. So understand, and we've heard the term real estate rich, cash poor. So I could have $1 million in real estate, but I have no money because it's all in the real estate. So one of the things I teach you in some of my other videos is how to access that money in it. And that would be what people call a HELOC, or a homeowner's line of credit. Now, there are different ways to get that. So if I've got $1 million in real estate over here, I want to make sure I can tap that at any time. So make sure you understand the liquidity part of real estate. And that's what they mean when they're talking about that. Now, when you have multiple pieces of property, unless it's a piece of dirt that's not creating income, somebody's got to manage that property. So one of my rules is, if I have rental property, it's just as easy to manage 5 as it is 1. 5 is my magic number. So if I go into a market and I get a rental property, I want 4 more as quickly as possible. That way I can incentivize, there's a big word, say that fast 10 times, a rental company to come in there and say, yeah, we'll manage these, because you're gonna have to pay somebody. Also, be realistic about vacancy factors, the time that nobody's in your property. Okay, so in other words, if you sit there and say, oh, I've got a high occupancy factor, we're 90% full all the time. Really? Seriously? I would rather do the numbers at 60%. If it looks good there, it's gonna look spectacular here. Don't oversell yourself on the deal. It's so easy to do, and this is the biggest mistake I see beginning and novice investors make all the time. Regulatory and tax implications change all the time. Okay, so when you're going into a particular market, you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't like rental property in California. I agree. I live in California. I have no rental properties in California because the regulations in California make it so not good for the owner of the property that I just stay away from it. New York is another example. My New York students are like, no, you don't want to do it here. And then I've got great places out there, for in the time of this recording, Texas, Alabama, Florida, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona. There's more better ones than there are bad ones. So you need to understand the regulatory climate. Also, you gotta start understanding taxes. The tax implications of real estate is spectacular if you know what you're doing. Owning real estate allows you to depreciate the real estate over time, be it commercial or residential. You now are a business, so I can go out and buy a vehicle that weighs a certain amount of weight, like it's 6,200 pounds, I do believe it is. So every vehicle I've bought over the last 3 years, or 30 years, excuse me, has weighed over, for my personal use, has weighed over 6,000 pounds because I can write the whole thing off. There are over 270 different deductions you can take as a small business owner. And if you're doing real estate, you have a small business. So all of a sudden, cell phones, home office, all these things. Not only that, but it's just all the little things that you can do with real estate and the tax implications. Having a private retirement account. Gosh, I've got whole videos on that. where all of your real estate is in your retirement account, and as it's growing, it's going crazy. You can leverage real estate inside your retirement account. So if you've got $500,000 in real estate in your retirement account, you all of a sudden have $1 million to retire or to invest. It's nuts what you can do with this. Understand the regulations and the tax implications. Taxes aren't a bad word. Don't get mad at the IRS. They don't make the rules. They just enforce them. One of the great things about real estate is once you start getting into this, don't limit yourself to one area. There is multifamily, meaning more than just one house. So I'm going to buy a 8-unit apartment building. Remember, the same headaches are going to be there with 8 as there are with 1. Okay, so don't be afraid because the numbers might be bigger. Understand how you do your cap rates and how that is in the deduction. So I have a 22-unit apartment building, or I have one house. Okay, it's kind of that. So what I'm saying is get big, think big, learn this, just like you're learning real estate right here, or taking land and developing it. Okay, a lot of you know I develop land. I've got a piece of property, I develop it. My cost basis is automatically super low in those particular situations. Obviously, I make sure that going in. And now I've got tons of upside. So I'm protected in so many different ways with that. Regulatory changes came, the market values go down. I'm still down here, so I'm hovering in this area. You know, again, it's all about the market, what the market's doing, how it's reacting, how your tax implications are, You know, all of these things are going to be factors in deciding whether you're going to do real estate or not. I'm going to tell you this, though. Nothing, and I do mean nothing, that is available in the United States makes more people more money than real estate. That's the fact. The fact is you need to know what you're doing, and these are just some of the small factors you have involved that you need to be aware of. That's why I've created a brand new training video. Go to higginsmethod.com, and this is literally it's free. Just free. It's watch it. Watch it. I go through all the details on there, and then you can make a decision for yourself. Just for signing up, I'll give you my brand new book, America's Secret Investment Strategy. This is yours, complimentary. Have fun with it. God bless. Good luck. Thank you very much.